one, go.
And we're back, Splitting Hairs Studio, live with Annabelle and me, Sarah, your host, Splitting Hairs. So today's topic is, should you do AMEB? What the hell is AMEB? Australian Music Examinations Board. Should you do these exams? What are the pros? What are the cons? What are our experiences? What are your experiences? Put them in the comments. We'll do a part 2 if we need to. Yeah. Hey, Annabelle, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. We're still in lockdown and it's just a bit of a struggle now, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, we can fill the time, like doing this, talking about fun things like exams.
Now, did you do them?
Yes, I did. Did you?
I did grade 7.
You only did grade 7?
I only did grade 7 and a couple of theory exams when I was younger.
Interesting. Okay, so
which ones did you do?
I started on 4. I jumped to 6, 7, 8, and I learnt the rep for the performance exam after that, AMUS and LMUS, but I never sat them. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Got it. So I teach a lot of people, and usually it's through uni, but often I'll have a teenager that wants to do an AMUS or an LMUS or something, so I have to kind of put my AMUS hat on and go, oh, okay, so what do you need to learn? So by the time you get to AMUS, which is after all the numbered grades, is AMUS, Associate of Music, and LMUS, Licentiate of Music. And then there's a few other things you can do, certificate and stuff like that. But by the time you hit, I think, grade 7 or something, you get your real repertoire.
Yes.
So it's like putting on a recital that you're getting assessed for. So that's one of the pros. It's a goal. You're getting assessed. You're working towards something. Would you agree with that? A goal is pretty good. Hey?
Yes. So up until you get to the certificates, you do preliminary to 8. They're made up of tech work, so scales and exercises. That lovely book.
Tech work.
Yeah, that lovely book you have. Then you do 4 pieces from a list A, B, C, D. When you get to, like, I think grade 5 and above, you do extra lists, so you have to do a bit more. Then you've got an oral and theory and a general knowledge component. So they're quite comprehensive exams. And I think they're really great. I do. I think there's some cons, which we'll get into in a moment. But you do that, you know, maybe you start younger and you do the little one, like the earlier grades, and it's, you know, not as hard repertoire, and you need to just know maybe what's the key signature of 1 sharp. Yes. And then you get up, you know, it gets harder and harder. And then you get to the certificates and it's what we'd call like real repertoire, or like, you know, the standard rep maybe. So they've got their benefits because, like all things, they just get slightly harder and harder and they challenge you more and more.
Yeah.
So a good thing about doing them is it sets you a goal. And there's no time frame in which you have to do them. There's only limited blocks in the year where they run the exam. So if you can prepare by then, sit the exam.
Yep.
So that's good. It's good. Goal setting's good because it motivates you, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's right. It's very hard to practice for nothing. As you know, when you challenged me with the ESI challenge, I practiced it every day and I filmed it and I'm like, meh. But give me John Adams in 3 days, Harmony Lera, and I'll practice it and I'll do it.
That piece, that performance, I'm so unbelievable. So, okay. So last year I missed out on seeing MSO play Scheherazade, or on a tangent, sorry, or rant, whatever. Scheherazade.
Let's do it.
And I was like, I'll go to the Monday concert. And Monday's a nice day to have a concert. Lockdown happens. You guys play the Saturday concert. What's the one that gets cancelled? The Monday. So I was like, I was pretty bitter. And then this time we had a lockdown, but I managed to go to the Thursday one and see you guys play that piece. And oh my gosh, was it incredible.
Yeah.
Like,
now I can pull this tangent back to the AMEB. I can pull it back. I can pull this back. So John Adams, Harmony Lera is the skills you need for that sort of piece. I don't believe the AMEB covers those sorts of pieces yet. Now I know that they have had the same repertoire for many years. I mean, they have to publish this. They have to publish this really incredibly thick book with all of the pieces for all of the instruments. So obviously they can't be changing up the pieces. But what tends to happen, this is in the con list, what tends to happen is that you get the same pieces for generations remaining in the book. And their most modern piece will be something that's maybe written in 1985 or something like that. And there are very few pieces that express the last, say, 50 years of composition. So you're not going to get a whole bunch of skills of modern music like metronomic playing or playing with a click track or any of that stuff that we have to do when we're out in the music community now. But as a basis,
yes. Well, I was going to add to that, which is okay. So these methods. So AMEB is not the only exam system that runs, but it's certainly the dominant one in Australia.
Exactly.
They teach you what you need to know. They give you a good baseline, because then obviously if you go on to expand your skills, then you can play things like that John Adams. But you've had the foundations there. So can the foundations be met by not doing AMEB? Yes, you're an example of that. I did Suzuki. My foot in the door to music was Suzuki. Then I went into AMEB, and then I left it. Didn't feel like I need to finish them off or anything.
Okay. Let's talk about not doing AMEB. I had a teacher called Elizabeth Morgan. She's still with us. She's a beautiful lady in Brisbane, Elizabeth Morgan. She had her own system.
Brilliant.
Which involved all these beautiful pictures of whales and sea creatures, and like the note head would be the eye of the whale, and there would be these beautiful pictures. So she did it in this kind of fantastical, magical wonderland way, and you'd get little stickers for each achievement. If you got 5 stickers, you'd get a little rubber. So it's a bit of bribery thrown in there, but you get little prizes for doing well, and it's that real incremental achievement that kept you working a little bit each time, because there was something really achievable to work towards. And so she had her own method, and I would also say that now I have my own method, which may or may not include throwing in an AMEB exam here and there if the student needs it. So I only did grade 7 because I needed an AMEB qualification to apply for something else, and I can't actually remember what that something else is anyway. But I only did grade 7 because I had to. I didn't need to for my life. It wasn't any. It was some competition or something. It was some random thing which I couldn't apply for unless I had an AMEB qualification. So maybe, I don't know, maybe mum remembers what that is. But so I'm an example of someone who hasn't gone through that system but has done pretty well. That's not to say don't do exams. These exams are great. Another con, they're expensive. So if you're paying for private lessons plus paying for an AMEB
and
exam each
paying
year,
them for their rehearsal and their time on the exam,
Yeah, so there are concerns with money there, but I think they're worth the money, but some people find it difficult.
Well, you said that you had to do that an exam to get into something else. Well, nowadays to get into university or equivalents, it's they'd ask you to be, say, 7th grade or higher, or an equivalent of that. You don't actually have to have completed. So can you play the second movement of Mendelssohn, which is on the 8th grade list? Can you play that? You maybe haven't done the exam, but if you're playing it to that standard, there's we need some sort of comparative, standard. Like every audition is a Mozart concerto. You can play, play the same thing, I
think it's more common for younger kids to do them. I think the older you get, if you're going to be a musician, you tend to get busier with other commitments, concerts, recitals, competitions. So AMEB isn't necessary because you don't have the time. You don't need to do it because you're already...
Yeah, I didn't do my AMES because I was at uni.
Exactly. So you'll let the AMEB ball drop if all these other replacement things are coming in. So
and the thing about doing the higher up exams is they become more of a recital.
Absolutely.
So if you're planning your university recital whilst doing, say, your licentiate recital, it's like you can double up the repertoire, maybe be a bit smart like that, but it's still a lot of pressure. And one of them's going to get you a certificate and a qualification there. One's going to get you your Bachelor of Music or higher, whatever you're up to. So you weigh it up. But for the younger kids, going back to that baseline technique, they're really good to sort of get you in the door, like learning how to play scales, which I know you don't really like doing.
Oh, I'm getting I'm getting used to the idea of scales.
But they get you in the door, and if you've hopefully got a really good teacher that can give you equal amount of time on the scales, the exercises, and the repertoire that comes in the exam, you can be really well prepared. One of the cons is that you're on limited rep for an extended amount of time.
Yeah.
And the AMEB, they really weigh on you, saying they would rather you play your scales and your technique better than your pieces.
Where did you hear that? That's a big statement to make, and how could you possibly know? The AMEB and all associated people with the AMEB think that. Qualify.
Because I was always taught that at school. All the kids that did better, all the teachers it was, call me out on this if you want, but like they drilled it into us that they would rather your tech be like much more emphasized over here than your pieces. Because theoretically, if you're doing the tech really well, then it's going to be transferred over into your pieces.
See my sad face about that attitude?
I'm not saying it's right. I don't think it now.
I know.
But this is how I was taught.
Yeah.
It's interesting, though.
Well, we're all taught a lot of things that aren't necessarily true for every single one of us, too. Like
try to buy the best instruments.
Right, exactly, that kind of nonsense. Right, so what else do we have in our cons list? I used to not enjoy the earlier grades of AMEB for the simple reason that instead of new compositions, they would make abridged versions, cut up versions of Bach or Handel or whatever. They would water it down, dumb it down. And I understand why. It's a completely reasonable thing to do. Oh, so we've just got to make sure that the kids are only playing Western art music. And so because they can't play this level, we're going to make a version that's an easy version of something, right? It's sort of like the way school bands do Star Wars dumbed down. I get it. But it could be an opportunity for new music to be written. And there are new pieces in the lower grades, but I would rather see standard appropriate repertoire that's been written specifically for the grade than a piece of Bach that's dumbed down. Another thing that goes with this point is that I often see that the fingerings put in are sort of more 1930s, 40s style, sliding around. But that attitude has totally changed out in the community, that we now know. I'm going to cop some flack for this, but we generally know that you don't slide around and use a whole bunch of vibrato for Baroque music. That's a general thing now. Most people know that you don't play Bach like you play Wieniawski or something like that, right? So unfortunately, the fingerings that are in the part, the lower grades, parents and students follow those religiously because it's in the print.
Yeah, right.
And so
that is going to be another
stylistic
episode
stuff.
Of mine because
fine, but just briefly, that stuff that they follow, I'm the one in later years that has to teach them to unlearn that and learn a new way of playing early music. That's my responsibility. Is I have to clean up the erroneous stylistic decisions that someone a long time ago in the AMEB made, and it's just been left there. So again, not really anyone's fault, but these old-fashioned ways of playing Bach and pseudo Bach has been left in there.
It kind of goes to what I said about the AMEB's thinking on tech over pieces. Okay, is that we are playing in these AMEB exams or the equivalent to their standard. It's what they want to see. And a little analogy is whenever I tell my friends who are going for their driver's license, there's all these really sort of really detailed things you have to get right in your driving in your test that are not wrong. They are absolutely correct and for safety reasons, but you're driving to Vic Roads standard and they want to see what Vic Roads wants to see. Which you should do because driving and safety and all of that. But
I know what you're saying. You're being judged by their standards, so you have to follow.
And you're also up until 8th grade, maybe even cert performance, which comes after it, you are playing for one person. one person has the yes or no on your playing. So you're also not just playing to the Amy B standard of what they want to see, which may or may not be they want to see tech better than pieces. They may or may not want to see Bach played with the finger patterns and that are written in, but it is their standard. Make up your mind if you think that's good or bad. I'm not, but it's noted. But in a good way, when you go and do, say, your AMAS or your licentiate, there's a panelist of, I think, 2 or up to 3, which means a different voice. It's not only just a violinist listening to you. It might be someone like an instrument family group, in the same family group, I should say. And that means that there's more room for them to talk about what they liked or what they didn't like or pick up on things. And also at that level, you're playing the standard repertoire, which is not a piece that's been thrown together. That's a bit harsh, but put in for a specific, earlier grade. So it's things to think about. But like, if you're playing to the Amy B standard, and maybe you don't do all the exams, or maybe you don't always get like the A's or something, you're going to get to those higher grades. Maybe you want to go to university, and you're going to have holes in your technique. So
yeah, that's right. That was the point that we've talked about before.
Our question is Amy B or exams similar to that only good if you do all of them and in order?
Yeah, right. Well, I still think that's a bit limited for the reasons that we've already talked about. I mean, I don't know. I can say that I support kids doing AMEB exams. If I was to start a kid off, I would probably insist that they did AMEB. But I'm not that kind of teacher. I always get university level who are struggling. Oh, timing.
I wasn't struggling. When I came to you.
Fine. Yeah, fine. But yeah, so I would definitely, if I had the opportunity, I would start someone off, but usually I'm in damage control with older people. I mean that in a nice way. It's like they've been taught a whole bunch of stuff that hasn't worked, and I'm in damage control to get them back. And so AMEB, for example, I have a student who is self-taught and he's older, but I'm insisting that he does an exam. Now, we're trying to work out which level would be the best for him, but I'm actually insisting on it because he's not at uni. He doesn't have recital goals or competition goals or whatever. He's still yet to get his basics really up to scratch. I mean, he's doing great, but I think an exam would really focus him in. So I use the AMEB as you guys have got nothing else to do. Let's do an AMEB exam. Yeah. So I really support it.
Yeah, I think in a perfect world, you'd want to see, it happens to some, not everybody, so it's not perfect, but student comes in, violin's hard. You have to not just piano. Okay, sorry, pianist, but you play a note and it's in tune, and then you immediately have to start like putting together a phrase. Violin, it's like, let's learn the bow hold, which takes time. Let's learn how to hold it here.
Let's not sound horrible.
There is so much more to just get you a sound to learn the violin, and then from that develop technique. So cannot compare those. But the perfect student would come in and spend time first learning how to do this and learning this, and then how to hold it, make a sound, open strings maybe, bowing techniques, and then go into doing scales, maybe just one octave, and then learn at these, small steps and do, say, exams or something, do all of them in an order, but that doesn't happen. My teacher went, you can go straight to 4, just to 4th grade. So,
well, yeah, there's no point starting preliminary if you're already past grade 3, of course. Yeah. So, I mean, teacher discretion, just do whatever you want, really. But the other good thing about it is that you need to know a little bit of theory, a little bit of general knowledge. And a lot of times when you don't do something like the AMEB, you think that playing music is just playing music. But I have so many students, I have had in the past, so many students who get to uni and I'm like, go from the G major chord. And they're like, what? What bar is that? It's like, oh my God.
Music is more than playing it, it's more than being able to play. I mean,
it's the history of it, and violinists are the worst because they only exist in the melody. They have no respect or understanding of baseline, of inner voice harmony. And it's because these days, and it is, I understand it's very expensive. It's too expensive to do this anymore. But if you want your kid to learn violin, get him to learn piano as well.
I did.
I mean, you can't be that myopic that you just only think the melody exists. I mean, it's just
awful. This is going to lead into another future video, but you want to play violin, you like the melody, go and sit in violin 2 for a little while. Learn how to hear the inner voices, you know? I do this fun thing because I'm a super nerd where I'll go to MSO and I'll sit there, I'm like, cool, Brahms symphony, very nice violin ones. Very beautiful, and I'm going to like stare at the cello and double basses and just absorb the bass line. It's so
Brahms
good.
Bass lines.
It's so. I'm sorry, you guys played Brahms too earlier in the year, and I was just like relish. It was just beautiful. So it's just like very nice, very nice. Up high notes, but great, great. I'm over here. Like,
I mean, I don't know what you were doing, but in high school we were doing 4-part dictation, oral lessons. We were doing writing melodies and bass lines, and we were taught a specific way to write harmony. You did the bass line first, you wrote chords underneath it, and then you fleshed it out. I mean, it's not magic. This is
it's method, and it's
the AMEB,
and
the AMEB shows you that. Those musicianship and those theory exam books, get into them. You think you can play the violin? Go to grade 1 theory and see if you can even pass it.
Well, that's the thing about...
And you won't.
Okay, so the AMEB also run separate oral and theory exams, which is I think what you're talking about. But in your violin exam, you also have to spend 15, 20 plus minutes doing oral tests in your, you know. And again, maybe not to their standard, I don't know, but you can play that piece for memory beautifully, but then you go, they say, sing this lower bass line, you go... Sorry, what? What? Or sight read this. Can I phone a friend? But that's a benefit for AMEB. The exam as a whole. Yeah. I mean, you go and then you put the violin down and then you go and do some, sight reading and all of this. And that is designed to start the process of making you a well-rounded musician, not just a performer. Definitely. So here's a funny story. This kills me. So I can suffer in a bit of doubt where, like, for example, if I'm posting something about splitting hairs on Facebook, I'm like, the spelling of splitting, I have to make sure it's absolutely right. Right. So in my exam, I played this Wieniawski piece and the general knowledge part was, okay, tell me about Wieniawski and where's he from? And I go, cool. He's Polish and he was a violinist. And she goes, he was Russian. And I have it open on my phone right now. So I'm like, it definitely says a Polish virtuoso.
That's just disgraceful, isn't it?
Polish. And then I sat there in the exam going, in my mind, I was like, no, but I'm not going to
argue. Can't argue. No.
So I don't know if that person later went back and double checked or whatever. I passed that exam anyway, but I just went, he's not Russian.
Oh my God. Well, anyway, look, that's a shame, but you still passed, so thank God. And so look, what have we covered? What else is bad about it? Let's go negative. Let's go negative. Money, we've done that.
Well, the upper...
you might not pass.
Yeah.
What happens if you don't pass?
And about to say, if you do the AMAS and the LMAS, they are between $300, $400+ for your recital. So you better go in hoping you'll pass. And if you don't, and you really want to do it again, that's another $300 or $400. And
you have to wait another half a year or something.
And they are, this is a good thing about the AMB. They have a standard. They have a standard of playing.
Look, I just tried to be negative about AMEB and it didn't work. It backfired and it went straight back in. No, it just went straight back into the positive, which is like, I'm getting the feeling here that we are probably going to be one-sided about this. Should you do AMEB? Yes, you should.
Yes, you should.
It's unusual for us to...
Let's turn this around. If it's not AMEB, what are the other methods, especially when you're learning? Pardon me.
Oh, there was something that my friend in Brisbane just sent me. She's getting her child to do it on piano. It's called Con Brio.
I've heard of
Have you heard of that?
Lego Con Brio online exams, I think.
Yeah, that's right. You just send in a video. So it's not as comprehensive as AMEB. There's Trinity. Is that Trinity?
Maybe there's Suzuki.
UK equivalent.
There's Suzuki.
Yeah, you can do Suzuki.
Here's a negative for AMEB. I think it's the go-to exam. Oh, you didn't do AMEB? Well, what did you do?
A lot of people can't understand what your level is unless you've got an AMEB.
Yeah, when I was younger, before I started exams, friend of mine that I'd made at my new school was like, so what level of AMEB are you at? And I'm like, I haven't done them. I was playing in the upper chamber orchestra groups as well, and they were like, you haven't done them? Or I remember teaching this young girl, and she had her certificates all in a row, all A+, like she's going to be amazing if she keeps up violin, but it's just there's other stuff there, and not the be all end all. And like but you got kids you on your job in your professional violinist, and you're like only 7th grade.
Well, exactly. I got a job in the MSO with 7th grade AME qualification.
Wait. Say that again. You won your job?
I won my MSO job with grade 7 AMEB.
Wait for it. Oh, I wish I timed this better.
I'm trying to get the... Our audience is a little sleepy today. Wake up, guys. Awesome. All right. Look, I think we're done here. There's one more thing.
I know.
There's one more thing.
Listening.
There's one more thing. There's one more good thing. Playing with an accompanist is the best thing you'll ever do as a kid. And you've got to do it as much as possible. Because if the only time you ever do it is when you're in first year uni, 2nd semester recital, you'll have a nervous breakdown.
If you only do it with, say, 2 or 3 weeks before your recital, no.
Bad.
I finished lessons with you. Done. But I was like,
bye.
Yeah. So, but it was, I'm gonna go have a weekly or fortnightly with an accompanist. I might not have finished that piece yet. I might just work on the first part of it, but it's going to stop me from listening to myself and listening to the piano part. And it's going to force me. Same thing with don't play violin 1. Go play violin 2. Listen. Want to teach you to listen. So my recommendation, which is your recommendation, more with the piano. And if you're doing AMEB from a younger age, you want to spend time listening to the accompanist part. And here's a pro about them. They can send you the audio of just the piano part. You can play along with it, which is kind of karaoke.
That.
But you just need to play in 4/4 and.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to step in here and be a bit anti that. As we all know, COVID was the year that a lot of university students had to submit video exams of them playing along with a pre-recorded piano part.
Yeah, I know. It's not ideal.
I had a student who was doing Bartok Sonata. I had a student doing Tchaikovsky's second movement.
Yes, but you're talking about proper.
Concerto.
I'm going to push back. That's proper rep. I'm talking about the younger babies that are playing that one
Get
piece.
to play with
that maybe the only thing stylistic and phrasing wise is there's like a little writ at the end. But until then, it's like 4/4.
Understood. But let me just, instead of arguing with whatever, let me instead say it's a completely different skill. It's the same skill as playing with an inanimate object called a metronome. It's not the skill of playing with another human being, which is a two-way activity. So if you have to play along with recordings because of COVID,
fine.
But it is not the same skill as playing with another human being who is also playing with you.
Yes, I agree. But I think that's a different category of thing going on. For the AMEB to provide a piano accompanist, so you can listen to it, play along with it when you're a younger baby. That's good. And then when you get to
I'm certainly not against it. I'm just saying it's an entirely unrelated skill to play with a pre-recorded piece of music and to play with another human.
Yeah, and we've said this before on this show, and what we're saying now is playing with people is better than a metronome. you're listening,
Absolutely.
you're moving together. It's ensemble playing. Me spending time with my accompanist, he was just like, I need you to lead this more so that I'm hearing you slow down, speed up or whatever. And then once we got on the same level, that piece gelled really beautifully.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That skill is a carefully crafted thing that happens with practice. Now, what we haven't said enough on this show is you must all like, subscribe, and share.
I know, it's so close to our first 100, which is like
this is really
baby YouTube channel.
Yeah. You can all learn something from what we're saying, even if it's just that we are both quite wishy-washy and nuanced, and we're losing our ability to be strong about points, because the more we talk about things, the more we realize there's pros and cons to everything. And I think that's probably what people should be trying to be more like, rather than taking a position and holding on to it. I think what we've done, what we've turned into on this show is more like what I want to see, those difficult conversations that we don't talk about, those political conversations. I think people should really pay attention to the way we're doing it now, because it's really important to cover all points.
And I think the main thing that was the basis of the entire reason of starting this show was, can we just ask more questions? And can we just listen to other points? You might be so in love with a particular violin maker from a particular time frame, which is great. I'm not going to tell you not to like that. I will never tell someone what they can and can't think. I will always say, maybe I encourage you to ask more questions. And lately we've had such great feedback from people that don't know us personally. So they're catching on to what we're doing, and they're musos, and they're, and they're responding. And that's really encouraging, because, this started out was like, let's talk about that, make fun of this. Oh, I agree with you. You don't agree with me. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's evolved.
And that's not real. It's not real. This is more real. All right. So great. Like, subscribe, share. We love you guys. Thank you for watching. Thanks, Annabel, for pressing buttons. And see you at the next one, which we're going to have a guest, right?
Yes. Okay. We will have a guest.
All right. Yeah, we'll have a guest.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.